Okay, continuing with the Holy Grail of Wisdom quotes by me, Pete Rogers, alphabetical order, Daniel Willingham. He writes books about education. He's a Harvard guy. And one good quote here is he says, stories are psychologically privileged. And the truth is that you remember stuff much better if it's in the context of a story. When you just hear a dry, logical, isolated fact, it doesn't stick well. The story puts it in a context and makes it much easier to associate it with something that's already in your mind. The way you remember something is you associate it with what you already know. And the story tells you how to think about it. That makes it easier to associate and remember long term. So whenever you want somebody to remember something, tell them a story. Okay, for example, whenever I teach a resident doctor, like a young doctor, I'll tell them a story about what happened to me when I made a mistake or something so that I'll remember it. Like when I was doing procedures, I was on call, I was a resident, and I had to do a bunch of procedures on a hot summer day, and I had all this glove powder, and I pushed my gloves back up, my glasses back up in my nose because I was all sweaty, and I got glove powder in my eye. I had to get my eye rinsed out. There used to be more powder in the gloves than there is now. So what I'm teaching the resident is always rinse your hands off after you do a procedure before you do anything else. Otherwise, you might get glove powder in your eye. Okay, and I got a blepharitis eye infection from that. Okay, so that story makes it easy to remember why you should do it. If I just told the resident, always rinse the glove powder off your hand after you do a procedure, they may or may not remember that. But I tell them, I got an eye infection, it was a pain in the ass, I had to go to the ER, get my eye washed out. Now they'll remember it. That's the benefit of a story. Okay, next line from Daniel Willingham. Books expose children to more facts and to a broader vocabulary than virtually any other activity, and persuasive data indicate that people who read for pleasure enjoy cognitive benefits throughout their lifetime. Okay, so what he's basically saying is books are better than anything else for educating kids. And, you look at the rich people, they're not stupid. They send their kids to a school with no tech. All this stuff about cell phones, computer books, it's all bullshit. You don't want any of that stuff, okay? Real intelligence is quietness, reflective thinking, being alone, studying the subject, then later on meeting up with somebody who knows more about it, having a conversation about it, then going and reading some more, having a curiosity, a desire to explore a subject, okay? Also, I've told you about the book whisperer, that lady who was the best sixth grade teacher in the whole USA. She basically just let the kids, she put a whole bunch of books on a table and a bunch of bookshelves. Sixth grade kids said, read whatever you want, just make a 5-minute book report, let them read in class. Kids read 43 books a year versus if you force them to read something, you'll read 2 per year and they'll hate it and forget everything. Her kids were by far the best students in the school in every subject. Because when you choose a book yourself, then it's fun. It's a little adventure. You make a prediction. You check if your prediction is true. Okay, continuing with Willingham. Judge the effectiveness of a method by the results. Yeah, her results are better because they worked. Okay? Things that create an emotional reaction will be better remembered. Yep. Okay, next person is Wendell Wilkie. He said, a good catchword can obscure analysis for 50 years. Yeah, when somebody, politically, they come up with a good slogan and nobody can say anything about it. And that's sort of like, if you don't agree with our slogan, then you're a bad person, you're evil, racist, homophobic, bigot, misogynist, blah, 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 blah. Okay? And I'm always amazed at how the left can claim the moral high ground when its long-term goal is just, things like abortion, bumping off babies, reducing the you-know-what size of the you-know-what, the population. That's its goal, to get rid of people. Yet it claims the moral high ground and all the dummies believe it. It's unbelievable. Okay, next quote from, this is sort of an analogous quote from Russell Davenport. He says, the history of our time is a history of phrases which give rise to great power and then suddenly pass away. Men are destroyed by them and others are raised to power. And after all this havoc has been wreaked, suddenly the phrase disappears. And it raises the awful question, where is all the truth? Yeah, because a lot of people, they're simpletons and they just take the phrase that supports something they want and they go with it and they destroy good things. Okay, that's one way that you know that a movement is bad, when it destroys good things, Like Jesse Jackson at Stanford University, when he was paid off to get rid of Western civilization requirement for a year, and he said, hey ho, Western civ has got to go. And that was bad. And they did that all across the United States for the universities, got rid of Western civilization education. It was the best class I ever took in college. I got exposure to all the great books. the greatness of the ancient Greeks, the ancient Romans, all the history, King Arthur, chivalry, etc. Okay, Colin Wilson, he's a writer. A couple quotes from him. He said, "When I was a teenager, I was a total romantic escapist. My world was books." If you study geniuses, and I've made an extensive study of geniuses, almost all of them, they had some type of loneliness in their childhood where they read a lot. And they mentally greatly developed themselves. Like a classic example, we won't get into all of them. Well, I'll just name one, Talleyrand in France. He was sort of the great political advisor of Napoleon, even though Napoleon hated him. Napoleon described him as a shit in a silk stocking. Napoleon still needed him because he was so smart. He had a club foot, and his parents put him to go to seminary. He didn't really want to be a priest, and so he just read all the time, and he became the most educated man in Europe, and he was a great businessman, advisor, ambassador, and so Napoleon had to keep him even though he didn't really like him or trust him. And that's what I mean by tremendous intellectual development comes from interested reading on one's own. I'm later going to give a lecture today. I'll try to do it about how it develops the brain when you read a lot. Okay, next quote by Colin Wilson. "I never doubted my own abilities, but I was quite prepared to believe that the world would decline to recognize them." Yeah, that's myself. I got total confidence in my abilities. But I know no matter where I go, I'm always ostracized and shadow banned. I'm everything the modern world hates. I'm a Christian. I tell the truth. I'm actually Puerto Rican, but half Puerto Rican, but I'm a genius. Okay, I'm not an affirmative action phony dummy puppet. So affirmative action is just to create puppets. They don't want smart minorities. Okay, the smart minorities are hard to control. Mediocre minorities that know their only reason they get a job is because of they're going to be a puppet. They're easy to control. Okay, so anyways, that's just how it is. You tell the truth, you become hated. Next, nice quote by Colin Wilson. "A symphony is a stage play with the parts written for instruments instead of for actors. The average man is a conformist, accepting miseries and disasters with the stoicism of a cow standing in the rain." Yeah, I've always been amazed. People with these diagnoses, hypertension, diabetes, coronary artery disease, they never read about them. They just sit there like a chump, take their pills, get their surgeries, and have a crappy outcome. It never crosses their mind to open a book and try to think for themselves. Okay, he says, "I've always believed a writer has got to remain an outsider. He's an outsider because he stands for the truth." Okay, let's see if I got anything else here. Is that it for today? Oh yeah, I got one more person. We'll do one more person. Edmond Wilson. That'll be it for today. He's an American literary critic. He said, "Only the curious will learn, and only the resolute will overcome obstacles to learning." Yeah, that's my point too. Is that school gives you you punch your ticket to be a guild barrier to get into your job field, but if you really want to learn, that comes from reading on your own. Next one, Edmond Wilson. "The quest quotient has always excited me more than the intelligence quotient. Marxism is the opioid of intellectuals." Yeah, these intellectuals, these college professors, they love it, and it's really evil. I mean, when you look at it, what is it? It recommends a centralization of everything, so a very small number of people can control a very large number of people. And it totally recommends brutality. Just bump off anybody who doesn't agree with you. The public, the pros, they should not own anything. There should be no middle class. Smash the middle class down, okay? Use the hatred of the poor classes of the middle class to destroy the middle class. So once the middle class is gone, then the elites control everything, and then you can get rid of the useful idiots later. That's Marxism, okay? It's evil. Okay, Edmond Wilson, "I attribute such success as I have had to the use of the periodic sentence." Periodic sentence is when the key word comes at the end of the sentence for emphasis, like Cicero's quote, "To not know what happened before you were born is to forever remain a child." Okay, so that's it for quotes today. I hope you found that helpful.